Hey. Time for another out of this world story from rSpace. My wife cheated on me. I had to make sure she goes to jail. And she's begging me to come back. Okay, where to start? I, 35 male, was cheated on by my wife, 38 female. I don't have a lot of people to talk to in my life. Separation is nearly impossible. We simply cannot afford two households. I have taken into account any financial assistance available at the state and local level. It is mathematically impossible. And I have 6 kids, count them 6, who are under 8. One of them wasn't a year old when she started all of this. My wife has always been somewhat immature. She basically has to hear what she has to hear. She is vulnerable to people pleasing, except me, who she takes things out on. When something needs to change, she explodes. I've realized I more or less kept her life from being explosive and otherwise unstable, like her 2 sisters, one a twin, one older. I'm not just ragging on the family. This is clearly familial. They are very alike. I used to be pretty proud to be the one guy not cheated on, and we've been together now almost 10 years. Now, I don't even know what to do. It's clear where it started to snowball. She returned to work. We could finally make that work if she took mornings. This meant we didn't need daycare. She would do a 4 to 11:30, and I would head in when she got home. Starbucks. Of all the stores. I'll come back to this later. Eventually, she just started insulting me to everyone who would listen. I'm not perfect. We would fight. My wife, however, would take it to another level. She would scream she hated me. She would say I don't please her. She would yell everything under the sun over the same basic few fights. Stop spinning us into oblivion. I lost my house I had when we first met because I had to eventually sell it to pay off massive debt. She is impulsive with money. She threw a literal tantrum when I told her in her second car that we were absolutely to leave the lot and said I did the same to get $1,000 off of my car. We ended up with her throwing a fit. Her prior car sold at the far end of red on Kelley Blue Book, and the new one far red on Kelley Blue Book, and an $855 monthly car payment on what I would consider to be a decent car. Top model Mazda CX-9, but not high scale. That is just one of the many stupid actions she took. Stop yelling at me. When I would ask her to treat me better, she would scream how I was calling her a bad wife and was a bad man. We were talking at a hysterical level because I would say she needed a change. I would constantly say, listen to me. She would mock me, say, oh, I'll listen, it won't fix anything. I had to tell her to change. What to what? What is your definition of fixed? I had to point out I knew she would fight. I was okay with it, as long as we moved on and solved things. But her explanation was more or less becoming fixed, was correlated with never having to hear about anything she does that needs to change. Eventually, she finally started saying, I wish I had cheated on you, and thank God I'm not pregnant with another one of your kids. Thank God indeed. She started her period early, one of the only times she did. She's like clockwork. And the thank God was because she was cheating at this point and scouting out men. 9 men. She sexted 9, all quite young, early to mid-20s. No real life career, just weak. The one she had sex with, Ricardo, even offered to be a bottom for me if she would keep seeing him. Because my wife realized he was super weak, she called it off just before I found out, at least on a sexual basis. He got friend-zoned. It started with one from work. He dropped her. She broke and wanted more. She then talked to and sexted random men on Snapchat, one of which she met twice and had sex with and gave a blowjob to the first time. During all this, because she was picking up hours, I took over my kids nearly entirely. She would go out 3 times a week. One day on a date, she picked a fight. February 11th. I still remember it. It was when I finally told her I either get access to her phone or I'm filing a divorce. Because the way she picked that fight made it abundantly clear she bailed on that date before she bailed. She called me asking when I would be home. I moved my workout. I had left a little late. I was actually apologetic. I said, oh, I can skip. I left late. I don't want to be late. She said, no, go. And then guilted me saying, I don't want to have to hear you complain about it later. I then said, I can make my own decisions. What are you doing? She then said, nothing. Took it as an accusation. It wasn't. It was more of a, why are you fighting with me statement. And hung up on me saying, stop embarrassing me in front of my friend. The friend she was hanging up on, I couldn't hear. So I called her back and said, really? What is going on? What was that? She then said more or less, How dare you embarrass me in front of my friend? I'm not doing our date. So I make it to the gym, decide why not go? And then she tries to guilt me again, saying, sure, I should drive to our date drunk and die. At which point I said, we talked at 4:40. It is now 5:15. You already were drinking before you said this. You're just too bad at lying to know what you just revealed. I'll ask again, what is going on? She then disappeared for a full day. She didn't come back until 11 at night. Now, it's possible she was with Tori, a girl from work, bad-mouthing me. I saw the Snapchats and they do confirm a timeline, but these attacks just went on for a long time, and this was the date that made me say no, give me the phone or we are done. Coincidentally, I still didn't find out. She had a lock app to hide the pictures, which looked like a calculator, and I didn't notice. And the texts had nothing. Snapchat was what we used for our kids. I thought nothing of it. The 16th, I logged into Snapchat. That's when I saw Beth, who she had renamed, and what were clearly sexual conversations. At first, I thought this was a girl. I confronted her. She let me believe she had sex with a woman. I told her that if this was what she wanted, because this Beth said, bring me next time. See above where I said this Beth said they would even let me screw her. Understand that while any guy would want that, I have 6 kids. I will never harm them, and to me, that's not what a relationship is. I was dedicated, and if that was her choice, my answer was no. In hindsight, it made me look like a total fool, and also made her feel horrible about herself knowing what type of guy she has. Really, how many men would reject that scenario? She allowed me to believe this, and that Cole from work, who was also in Snapchat, were the only people. She told this guy Cole she loved him. She showed him when I was angry about headphones, a minor fight. Right after she told me to get a towel for her. I am never asked to do this, and she angrily sent a picture of her in it to him while I was making up for saying don't touch my headphones in the other room. I feel like I was kicked like a dog. I watched those 6 kids while she went out. That meant food, cleaning, changing, and I take them weekends when she works, mornings until 1:30 p.m. That means breakfasts, lunch, changing, and bottles. On nights, every night after I get home, I let her wind down and take the kids. This means a bath. I took over cooking entirely. I take the kids entirely. Just about all she does is laundry. Yet I was bashed by everyone. The woman who watches my kids told her to cheat. My wife asked what she should do. The girl said, if you're truly happy with Chris, don't. But if you just want a little fun on the side, why not? No one backed me up. She had trashed me enough that they all played into this. She lied and fought and threw things across the house as I found out more. She attacked me. She physically put herself on top of me, screaming like a lunatic, anytime I said I was leaving. And when I would put my arms up to defend myself, she would say, don't touch me, don't touch me, in order to get me to remove my arms to attack me. She threw a knife. She threatened to kill herself in front of my kids several times with said knife. She threw cat food at me, which exploded on the wall. I've been hit on the head by an Xbox One controller she threw in a rage that bounced on the wall and hit me in the back of the head. She threw a frickin' slow cooker at me on one occasion too. Most of the time, it's after she reveals she has been lying and I said I'm mad. While I have said some bad things, most of the time I restrain myself. That time though, when she threw the slow cooker saying that I was acting like I thought she was a whore, I said, I don't think you acted like a whore. I know you acted like a whore. Yes, mean, but she did it. The Snapchat guy, she blew him the first day she met him. She hid men so many times. First it was Cole and Beth, Ricardo really. Then it was 3 including another random Snapchat guy. Then 4th, a friend of her ex. Then I found out some girls from work helped her to get a number from a guy named Thor. Then 2 online she was going to see when she went down to Vancouver, who was sick, and my wife bailed on going to see her mom with cancer to stay one more night with Ricardo after I found out. By the way, she claims this guy raped her, but she has a picture she downloaded of his sister the morning she left to stay at a hotel with him the night she was supposed to be with her mom, which I didn't find out until the family blew up when they found out that she had supposedly seen them. So they were abandoned, and they were pissed at my wife about it, seriously pissed off. There are a few advantages to this. All the men were ugly. My wife knows I'm the best she can do now. And me, well, I was bigger than all of them too, which I have to admit felt pretty good. And the second advantage, she may be crazy, but I did retaliate. Part of it was because I've been cheated on before, and I know what happens if they think you're weak or begging. So, some advice for men cheated on. Do not beg them to stay. She called me before she left that day, crying, saying I didn't understand what it was like to lose someone I cared about so much, since Cole would no longer talk to her. I just said nothing. Until finally I said, I don't understand what it's like to lose someone. Are you listening to yourself? She took a few more swings and I said, no, stop right there. You think I'm on the phone right now, waiting for you to get home because I'm hurting and can't live without you, and I'm struggling with how much I want you to stay. Consider this. It is exactly the opposite. I'm not speaking because every fiber of my being is screaming to leave. And she hung up. She had been up to this point saying she would leave me for Cole. Truthfully, I wasn't sure what I wanted to do then, but I wanted to buy time. So that was my first action. She didn't buy it. She then stayed the hotel night with Ricardo, figured out later, instead of seeing her mom. She still didn't buy it at first. Somehow my wife forgot how we started, forgot who I was when we met. We dated because I was cheated on. The woman back then thought I was bluffing. I was not. I left her. So with my wife in the now, I then found 2 women. I am built, I am very fit, and not to brag, I'm not huge, but I am well endowed. I make good money, and man do I conquer what I go for. And also, I provide. I take care of people. I fight for people. I'm basically husband material. My wife made a bad choice to call me on this. One of the 2 women was an Asian woman named Delilah. Another was a girl who messaged me on OkCupid. I didn't know her name, but wow. This girl was attractive and she knew the game. She knew how to flirt. She was saying she liked fit men and had an obsession with that body type. She wanted to date and said everything she would do for me if I would forget about my wife. We are talking 9 out of 10 women. My wife lost it. But do you know what happened after? She would go in bursts of losing it, begging me to stay. She stopped the threats to leave. I had no real intention of doing anything with these women. I solely did this so she would see me from a position of strength, and that she was not going to be making calls for me or attacking me, or I could and would do better. She tried lying more and thought I was not serious again. So I found more women. One who, I kid you not, said she inherited a 3-bedroom house and would be a mom to my kids and share it with me. And I showed my wife the texts proving it, so she would not think I was just trash talking. One who ironically was named Sally. My wife had made a burner phone with the name of Sally for these affairs. Karma, huh? She used to have a Sally keychain. My daughter asked her why Sally was gone. My wife said, ask your dad about Sally. Of all the things and possibilities. Karma. I put the hammer down. I said she was going to respect me. She thought I was weak. I was not. That I was undecided on what to do with her. Mainly due to finances and the kids. And for the time being, we were just living together until I figure it out. I told her if she continued to treat me like crap, I would have women on the side like the ones I had already shown her. I'm so angry with all of this. It's just nonsense. So for now, I'm stuck. With tax credits finishing, her school should be manageable. Then I'm ending this. Update. Well, things got real fast. Before I start, as I said before, this is mostly venting. Let's start with item 1. My wife had sex with at least 2 men. Not one, and not just Ricardo from above. Anyone could have guessed this. I wasn't stuck on thinking she had sex with 1 man. I knew the ones she didn't meet though, due to seeing the convos. So I knew this guy was one of the maybe guys. What shows how full circle I've come on this in terms of just being done dealing with this, is I don't care that she did. At this point, I'm leaving anyway since an annulment is almost assuredly possible. I'll explain why as I go along. I took a day off work, the 14th of January, because the woman who watches my kids bailed on us. My wife called me freaking out, saying she would lose her job. I stayed home. She headed out. Well, Google Maps is my friend. I had checked it, but for some reason, this didn't show up. She went straight to Kirkland until 3:40. She worked in Everett, not Kirkland. She had told her friend as well as me that she was working. She also had asked for a few days if I would take the day off or have Amber watch the kids. I was still deciding if I wanted to pay Amber to watch the kids. This was the first day she watched them. The first day, guys, and she cheats. At literally the first chance. Now that on its own would normally be upsetting, but I've already known she cheated, so it's just more BS. But y'all are about to get as pissed as me, because this one just isn't okay. The 14th was our second child's birthday. She planned to head for an affair on Caden's birthday. While I was sending her videos of all the kids as I watched them, she was having sex with this guy. This one, I trapped her. She had no out. There were more reasons for this. She had it in her notes, January 14th, to get Plan B at the store. She claimed she never did at first. Then she said she took it for Ricardo, but their sex wasn't until February 1st. And the nail in the coffin? She started her period extremely early on January 19th, and had messaged her friend asking how long it takes to take effect the 16th. I had brought this up to her before, when she denied it and she said she was just looking into it, then admitted she took it for Ricardo, who she said was the only guy. The time frame just didn't add up. She first admitted to seeing him, but not the sex. I said she was there 4 hours, don't lie, and then went over rapid fire the dates and plan B. She finally broke down crying, and the typical cheater's fake remorse when they know you're serious on leaving kicked in. She rapidly said you can have sex with Lily, a girl from work who was cheated on and has a free pass. You can have a threesome with me, please. I didn't tell you because I knew you would leave. Just do whatever you want, just don't leave. I told her I didn't want the random sex. And it's honest, I don't. It isn't who I am. So then we get to the less upsetting update of more I found out, and this one is just so damn absurd, it's on the funny end of the spectrum. Although January she messaged yet another guy online, this guy was saying he loved her, was calling her his angel, she was swooning, blah blah. Don't care. She had said she lost money in her purse months ago. No, this guy online kept asking her to load up gift cards and send them to him. My wife is so unbelievably stupid she sent money to a guy who spoke bad English online and catfished her. Tons of gift cards. Hundreds of dollars. Jesus Christ. And I saved the best for last. Or should I say worst? For those of you who don't believe in God or karma, I had seen a guy message my wife out of nowhere on February 16th, asking how she was, and he hadn't seen her in a long time. Okay, for you all to know, February 16th was exactly when I found out she had been having affairs. I just didn't know the extent. He sent his message the same time of day we were fighting that morning. He messaged her exactly the same time. What are the odds? This guy has been gone for like 10 years, and this is the day he messaged her out of the blue. The same day, and at the same time we were fighting because I found out. So let's put that in a 2-hour time frame, since we fought for a few hours before she went to work and he messaged her at the same time. 3,650 days. A 2-hour subset of those days is 1 in 12 on top of that. 1 in 12 and 3,650, which is 1 in 43,800 if you want the precise odds of him deciding to contact her in that window as opposed to any other time over 10 years. But humans are much more complex, and I would argue each moment is weighed even heavier. I didn't message this guy back until this July 4th weekend. I just wanted to see when he last saw her. Are you all ready for this one? He, on his own, without much prodding, said he hated how her ex treated her. This ex he referred to by name, which helped me find the time frame. I knew of him. He was my wife's last ex before me, and that he was glad he screwed my wife while she was with Christian due to that. So, my wife has cheated on even more men than she told me. She lies about everything. This is item 1 that gives me the ability to get an annulment. I saved this convo. In the church, if a partner lies about their personhood in a way that would make you deceived about who they were enough to change your mind about marriage, it is grounds for fraud, meaning the marriage cannot be valid and can be annulled. Now, I had already found out she lied about one ex, Alex, but he was her first boyfriend. She could argue it wasn't a pattern of behavior she was hiding, and she was young and stupid and didn't think about it. That it was a mistake she just didn't want to confront again years later. But this man was both just before me and was yet another incident of a relationship infidelity. This means she wanted to hide her keyword's pattern of behavior. I now nearly certainly have grounds for annulment, which makes me happy. But that is not where this ends. That is not what I was asking if you all were ready for. He asked where she went after the last time they had sex because he never heard from her again. So I kind of wanted to know the time frame since Christian was in summer and my wife and I started in fall. At this point, I was not even thinking about the obvious. It didn't cross my mind. I asked him when he thinks they had sex last because I, pretending to be her, wouldn't know where I went if I didn't know when it was. He said, I don't know. I think coats just became a thing. I still wasn't thinking about the obvious. I said, oh, like fall? So I was thinking there was overlap when my wife and I started having sex, but I refused to call it dating at the time because I knew she was too desperate offering me threesomes with her twin. I made it official November 19th, after a few months of her trying to convince me to date her, and that she would be mine and trustworthy. It was like qualifier dating. She told me we were exclusive. So when this guy said I was thinking, nice Rebecca, I knew you weren't exclusive. Then I asked about it. I said, well, it wasn't as late as November, was it? He said, yes. So this was when I started to panic. Before I could even ask my next question, he then, on his own, said, so I might have a daughter then, eh? I mean, I did cream pie you hardcore. My firstborn, Zoe, was born 2 weeks early. Her due date was my birthday, August 2nd, 2012. and instead ended up being my mother's birthday, July 18th, 2012. Her conception date, November 9th, roughly given my wife's cycles. She got pregnant early when we were together. I then asked this guy, what makes you think that you might be the dad? He said, well, ex-friend, mutual of my wife's and his, said you were pregnant about a month after we had sex. It is possible. I knew the exact day everyone found out about my wife's pregnancy. I am good with dates. It was December 11th. As I said, November 9th was the rough conception. He said he heard a month after they had sex, that he heard she was pregnant and thought the baby could be his at the time, which men never admit to. However, their mutual friend told him that he probably wasn't, so he dropped it. So my firstborn, Zoe, might not be mine. This is the worst possible scenario I could have imagined if she is not. Point 1. My firstborn changed my life. I say this a lot. Zoe and I have an extremely strong bond. She is so much like me. I have bonds with all of my kids, of course, but Zoe was the first time I felt true love. I had been hurt very badly in life, even then. She talked extremely early because she bonded to me, and she found I reacted when she did. I have posts of her talking so young, and it was solely due to our relationship and bonding. This girl was my world when I had no world when my dad had just died. She got me through it. You all have no idea how much I love my kids, and she was the start of that. She has 5 siblings who then have to be around another dad, or that Zoe has to be separated from while with this dad. So a side note, if Zoe is not mine, there's not even a remote chance I can't get an annulment. The odds become 100%. Hiding of different fathers to children is precisely verbatim listed as a parameter for annulment grounds. Fraud is generalized and is not defined, so the tribunal has to kind of decide if it is enough of a misrepresentation to have affected your decision to get married, prior infidelity, and they might not think it actually affected your decision. Children's misrepresentation is actually listed as an item. It is a 100% get out of marriage free card. So while this is insanely upsetting, it might be a blessing. I got a paternity test for Zoe and just sent it in yesterday, July 6th, with expected results. And I will do this for the rest of my kids, but at least on annulment issues, they have to have been before we got married on the concealment end, which is 3 of them. I realize this is not the only reason for such a test. Also, I was already planning on doing this, but it kept getting put off. It may well be my annulment ticket. I have also since realized daycare is almost certainly getting expanded to some degree, whether through expanded child care credits or a tax subsidy through Biden. I have my route out. So some of this is bad and some of this is good. I've processed a lot more. I will say all this has changed me rapidly, in some good ways. It's still unreal. I will do another post when Zoe's test results come back. I will do another update when I do the other kids. New update. I updated my original cheating post about my wife. Well, it got better again. She has a second phone. Today my daughter somehow had it. My wife said she found it in a parking lot. Then she quickly grabbed it and said she threw it in the trash. I tried to go through it and she immediately pulled it out of my hands. I asked what she did with it. She said she threw it away. This was in front of my kids, and when she first took it, she went out and started talking to my friend we were picking up the kids from, as if nothing happened to shut me up in public. I was sitting in the car with all my kids. It was an epic move and calculated. I pursue it. It makes a fight with the kids, right in front of them. I pursue her. It's in public in front of her friend, and she made sure I knew it. The kids were in the car, and I tried not to make a scene, but said, "We are getting that phone." She said she wasn't going through the trash. I then said, "I'll get it." She wouldn't stop the car. Now in hindsight, she just put it in her pocket. She then said, as I persisted when we got home, finally, that she would go back and get it. I called her saying that wasn't okay. She said it was fine to meet her there. She got the phone out of the trash. When she did, she grabbed me and kissed me and kept pulling my face to look at her. Cheaters and liars do this for control. She had deleted most of the texts, but not some of the pictures. It was her phone. Ironically, she didn't delete the monthly sign-up for Straight Talk Wireless since April 20th. She even insisted it wasn't hers after I got it. She must have thought she deleted it all. She didn't. And she kept denying after I said, "I see pictures of you at a house which isn't ours." She said, "What pictures?" She wanted to know what I knew. So the wife is still cheating. She refuses to admit it and said it was in case I used her phone, but she had saved images from people she doesn't talk to on her other phone. That means it is to talk to people I won't know about. She claims Amy from work and Colin, a gay guy. I was like, really? Why hide them? She's lying. She lost it several times. She met up with me randomly out of nowhere, knowing where I went for pizza, and grabbed the phone and ran. Insane. So when we got home, we started fighting. She just wouldn't give up, wouldn't admit it. She yelled more than me. As usual, I asked why she gets to yell each time I say she is lying. Even if I were wrong, I get to think she is. But it all came to a head when she again grabbed me and tried to force me to hit her. I locked my hands behind my back, and she just kept pulling at them to make my hands hit her, screaming, "Hit me! Hit me!" She then kept pushing me by and on the couch, and I kept saying, "Get off." I finally said I would call the cops and destroy her if I had to. She mocked me, yelling out of the door, "Help! Help! My husband is going to destroy me!" making a scene. She then called the cops herself. She actually said to them she just wanted advice and was playing games. They took a long time to get here as a result. Just before they did, she called me and said to not say bad things she did, and she wouldn't for me. I said, "No, I'm telling the truth." So they got there, and it was normal, and one talked to me and one my wife. The guy who talked to my wife came back saying he doesn't normally like to come out for advice, but he would give her a pamphlet and whatnot, and they were about ready to head out. However, then my guy updated him about what I said above. My wife thought they were close to leaving, and they were. So she was throwing out trash when they grabbed her again and walked her to the cop car. She was arrested. I could see the look on her face change when she went from "I'm taking out trash and they will be out of her hair soon" to "Oh, crap. They are coming back for me." My two older girls started nearly having panic attacks, and then they asked them to get me. They informed me she was going to jail. I don't know all the specifics. It was confusing. My wife had tried to call my bluff on the cops and called them herself. I warned her in advance, but she kept getting bolder, thinking I didn't and wouldn't stop her. I did. This will now be on her record. I didn't want this regardless. The kids are torn up, and I don't want a divided family. Before idiots here say, "Remove the mom," it is not that simple, even when violent. At this age, they will blame me. It will be years of trouble, and studies that say kids are better off are what I call pseudoscience. I'm sorry, it is. Sometimes you have to use your head. Half that type of science, which my brother majored in, is shoddy at best. I outperform him with people 9 times out of 10. This isn't ego, it is just fact. Even the brother openly admitted the big flaws with well-being monitoring of a child and how it is weighed. It is not, no matter what any of you say, good to have the mom arrested and kids removed from her in almost any circumstances unless they land you or kids in the hospital. Pushing is not enough. I wanted the cops to just warn her, and I told them that, but apparently, in Washington, they have strict laws. So my cheating wife is in jail. My kids are more torn up than I've ever seen them, and I get to simmer in that. And she has likely been cheating the whole time with this other phone. Just FML. Yet another update. My wife has been released with a protection order. She talked with me before that, and she admitted some things, but not all. This is a 6-month affair with the same guy, Ricardo, who is not Ricardo. He is a guy named Joe. I have the burner phone now, the second one. She looked up gay porn on it. Has a picture of my daughter Lily she sent to this guy, and all signs point to her having had sex and having been pregnant with his kid. It takes a long time to explain how I know this, but I do. I don't want to write it all out. She is saying they always used condoms. That is a lie. She likely had threesomes with him since he is bi, and that is what the gay porn is about. My wife is just a harlot. Her trial date is August. She has been losing it, telling everyone she hurts so bad not seeing me. I'm hurting, but for different reasons. Guys, I've got all 6 kids, 3 ferrets, a dog, hamsters, and laundry now to do, on top of what I already did. This is utterly exhausting. Zoe's test results finally have an update. It said I received and will process the results of my email in 2 business days. I don't know if it counts the day I received it, so it will be Tuesday or Wednesday. I talked more with the potential dad, and I was right when I said it really sounded like he was contacting her mainly to see if he had a baby with her. He said he always suspected the kid was his. He said he always thought I would reach out, but finally decided to check himself. We were cordial. He said I was a nice guy and was sorry for what I was going through. I said I would do the right thing no matter what, and we would talk more about Zoe and what to do if she was his. At this point, I'm just too tired to update more. There was a lot more than this. My wife begged me to say I love you on the phone every time she called. She then went on to saying, I really, really, really miss you. Don't you miss me? At all? A little bit? She was crying, telling lies, and saying I loved her. She was broken up. I said what my boss said after she said she was all alone, and it was horrible. I said, why don't you see if Joe or one of the other men will be there, bail you out, or watch the kids while you're in there? She cried more. She said I was right. She didn't need a boy, she needed a man. The guy is really young, he's like young 20s. Her bail was set at a freaking $100,000. It is probably because she made the mistake of saying she put a knife to her chest. The police asked me if she did, and I said yes. They said it was extremely concerning and they needed to think of the safety of the kids. She had a judge date this morning. The judge said the protection order would stay in place 5 years or until lifted if I tried to remove it. She broke down. She is really torn up. I'm a little worried about her. Not that I want to reconcile. I've never heard her crying like this. I heard her in the background telling Amber, who watches our kids. We can both contact her since she watches the kids. We just can't talk through her. And Amber was explaining what was going on since they didn't tell me yet. Every time I've called Amber, I can hear her breaking down crying at certain points in the call when she hears Amber say key things. She's telling everyone that when she isn't with me, she finally gets how alone she is with me not there. She doesn't care when the other men aren't there. It's me she cares about and wants to come home to. I think she had her wake-up call. We will be living like this for at least 30 days. I'm only removing it so she can go home to take care of the kids. Amber will help her at home, and I'll be leaving. Amber, coincidentally, just filed divorce paperwork. This might be a sign from God. I know that sounds odd, but I talked to Amber and she said she would move with Rebecca when her lease was up. That means that I can get more and less free daycare. We will pay her to get a tax credit, and I have her pay toward the rent, which would be increased by about $700 a month. Including the credit, we would reduce the difference to only about $400 a month. This resolves all issues. I told Amber not to tell my wife I was considering this yet. I want her to have time on her own first. 30 days for it to sink in. When she sees me then, I'll tell her. It's really over, guys, or is ending. It's been an unreal last 5 months. Even more updates. The paternity test results came in. Drum roll. I'm not Zoe's dad. She looks so much like me, too. I can't post more. I'm too broken up. Okay, so some final minor updates. My wife's boss had bought her the burner phone I found and put it in her email. It's unreal how ethical her work environment was. One of the employees talking to my wife on that phone refused to say who he was. I said I would be reporting her to get her fired for her actions, and she could go down soft or hard on me finding out who she was. She actually filed harassment because I said go down soft or hard, and successfully got a protection order against me. I explained it to the judge, and he asked, "Would you feel afraid by this?" And I said, "No, I was clear it was about her job and inappropriate actions." "I shit you not," he said. "What inappropriate actions?" I mentioned getting her phone numbers to sleep around at work, and her sleeping around with 2 men at work, and this woman telling my wife to do so. He then said, "That's not your life, it's your wife's." I was like, the hell it isn't my life? Because he said I had no legitimate reason to contact her, and that her work actions were not illegal. It meant it was harassment. She actually successfully got a protection order against me and made me pay her court costs. A load of crap. So if you ever think things are unfair, remember, you could have a jackass judge make a jackass decision. I could not believe I had to sit there and say, I wanted this woman out of my marriage. And he acted like a piece of crap saying, again, she's not in your life. You had to ask who she was on the burner phone. Why not yours? Because you didn't have her number. I said, people were contacted on that burner phone and I wanted to know who all were to remove them from my life and marriage. As to why I texted this girl, and he said the above. I'm like, F you. I wanted to say it anyway. Amy was just hiding who she was. I asked who it was on the burner phone and she didn't reply. I asked who she was on my phone and she wouldn't tell until I told her, and then refused. It was just some BS. This girl is divorced and hired a local firm to destroy her husband. She worked at Starbucks. He made more. She made out like a bandit, the attorney charging her nothing to hire, until he got her husband's money and destroyed his life. My wife surrounded herself with pieces of crap, and the judge was an a-hole. How fun! I also loved when he said, what does go down soft or hard mean? And I explained I was going to find out who she was one way or another, and the phrase around there said I was reporting her to her work, in so much as it was a report for her actions at work. He also said, you threatened her job. And I said, in as much as her actions should and could have consequences at work if brought to light. I did not threaten to get her fired by inappropriate means, only that I would report what she did and she deserved to be fired for it. I'm livid. It's a 1-year no contact order. I don't care much, but the judge is a POS.